Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barzi. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, leave us a comment. Today, my guest is Pia Love. Pia is a nurse, an author, an entrepreneur, and a therapist. Welcome, Pia.
Thank you. Hi. So excited to be here on your show today to talk about what I love and to meet you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you doing this. So thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
And always, 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 I want to know, why are people nurses? What inspired you? Why are you a nurse?
That is a great question, Dale. I'll tell you this story. I wanted to be a lawyer for years and years and years and years until I asked my dad one day what he did for a living. And he told me I'm a nurse. I said, oh, okay, Dad, that sounds interesting. And I thought about my entire life, how I'd always been into fitness, how I've always been trying to take care of my little brother who had seizures, how I was just the person who kind of maintained everybody's health around the house. So when I got to college, I said, well, going to school to be a lawyer takes a lot of time. What could I do possibly that maybe was a little bit shorter? And so I thought about what I was interested in, talked to my dad about being a nurse. And I said, you know what, I think I'd be a great nurse. And that was the start of my nursing career.
All right, then. All right. So many different people come to this profession in so many different paths. I'm telling you, it's very interesting to know.
It is.
In this journey, what are the challenges you faced?
Wow, that's a great question. I faced a lot of challenges. Being a baccalaureate prepared nurse and working in long-term care has been one of the greatest challenges that I faced, because those institutions aren't quite ready for the bachelor prepared nurse. So I've had to be kind of like a leader amongst those in long-term care, teaching them how to incorporate more professional development, teaching them how to have incentives to retain the higher educated nurse, teaching them how to make more policies and procedures to guide their organizations. That's been one of the greatest challenges. Another challenge that I say I had to face was just dealing with being cross-trained. I'm a nurse who has specialized in about 4 different nursing specialties.
4?
About 4.
Okay.
I trained in ICU for 9 years. I trained in med surg for 3 years. I trained in surgery for 2 years. And now I'm in long-term care, which has been the span of my 19-year career. So that's been a challenge, just fitting the skills that come from each department into a different specialty, and then being able to adjust and adapt, take things off or add things accordingly. That's been a challenge, but I love a challenge.
So what made you switch from these different acute situations to a long term?
Well, when I got into nursing, I told myself that I wanted to become a nursing consultant around my 20th year practice.
Okay.
And it might have not been the best way to get experience, but I figured if I had an experience in a variety of different specialties, I could probably be a more effective consultant because I would have actually had experience in those specialties. And lo and behold, I started PM Education Services, which does have a consulting component as its third leg. And it worked. It really did. So that's really what drove me. I wanted to have skill. I wanted to have talent that was beyond just that of critical care.
I see. And since you bring up PM Education Services, it serves, who's your target client?
Wow. My target client are college educated African American women. They are most likely to participate in healthy endeavors. They're also some of the smartest people who have an affinity for learning and who are traditionally lifelong learners. So I target African American women age 18 to 55 in particular, and those who have had some sort of college educated background or formal training.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm skipping around a little bit, but you did mention some challenges. And I'm always interested to know because, we kind of like don't exist in a vacuum and do things by ourselves. So when you have challenges, who supported you? What kind of support did you have?
My dad was a great support. He was a nurse, so I would bounce questions off of him all of the time about, the things that I was seeing. My mom, she was actually the motivation behind me learning anything in my entire life. So whenever I was faced with learning a new skill or trying to take the skill that I had into
Yeah.
another sector, I would always call her and ask her tips on how to teach others and how to appeal to others. And she was very instrumental. So I have to say my parents,
Okay.
honestly, they have been my biggest support. And with my mom passing not too long ago, I lost a huge cheerleader, but she left me, so many gems on how to teach others and how to share my knowledge with others that I think I'll be okay.
So you just said something that's very interesting. You said that when you had to learn something, you asked your mother how to teach it. That's interesting because as you I think always one of the best ways to learn sometimes or to assimilate things is to teach it. And that you wanting to learn as you teach as you learn is just awesome.
Yes, that's something that my mom taught me as a little girl. She said the best way to know if you know something is if you can teach it to someone else.
Yeah.
And so I just got into the habit throughout grade school, middle school, high school, and even college of taking the things that I learned and teaching others to make sure that I knew what I was talking about. If I could explain something to you that I had just learned, then that means not only had I learned it, but I was able to share it too. So I got that from my mom.
That's really awesome. And that's not a skill that everyone has, or even, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Thank you.
And so you created PM Educational Services, and what is your vision for this?
Wow. Well, my vision is to provide comprehensive health education and healthy work environment help to organizations and individuals. That's my mission. My mission is to teach others about living healthy lifestyles and making it cool.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, real simple vision, but I want the world to just adopt more healthy behaviors, because when we think of like a healthy work environment, we think of, places with zero tolerance policies on like harassment, but we don't think about stimulating colors like the green background that's behind me, motivating people to work. To me, that's a healthy thing that a lot of organizations don't really take into consideration. Or the fact that I provide therapy. A lot of people at work have difficulties and challenges, and they go into the med room if you're a nurse and you vent, right? Sometimes it would benefit you to have a therapist on site, to talk through some of those things and not burden the staff. So my vision is very simple. I just want to include healthy behaviors and a healthy lifestyle in everything that nurses do.
Okay, so as you're talking about healthy behaviors and healthy lifestyle, one of the things that I'm coming across as I talk to people a lot these days is burnout. When we talk about, what are we actually talking about when we talk about burnout?
Well, when we talk about burnout, we're talking about two things. It's not necessarily being overworked. It's an over nurturing attitude that nurses have that's just been worn out. That's usually what makes nurses experience burnout. We call it compassion fatigue in other terms. And burnout for a lot of nurses is that we all go above and beyond. We're always answering the call lights and bringing the water, and we're going to meetings and working extra shifts when people don't show up. And it's not that we don't have the endurance to do that, it's that we truly care while we're doing that. And if you think about the average person, they don't go around all day long for 12, 16 hours just giving all of the care that they have to give to others. And so it turns into compassion fatigue, I think, is what nurses have been experiencing. And the second thing that I think is burnout is having inadequate resources at work. That can tire your energy out. If you have to run to this unit and get that, or you have to
Mm-hmm.
call another unit because you're short staffed, or if the schedules are not right for whatever reason, that leads to a lack of motivation or burnout. That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. 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 I'm not even sure that I know how to phrase this question properly, but I just wanted, so how can we, would it, I don't even know if it's beneficial to stop caring so much. How can we put a rein on how much care we give?
Dale, that's a great question. That is a really great question. And it's called detachment, right? In all psychology classes, in most of my therapy classes, the art of detaching is putting limits or boundaries on the things that you do care about, not stopping the idea of caring. We couldn't, we're nurses, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's no way we could stop caring about people, but putting a limit on how much you care. So, for example, say you have a patient who's just constantly on the call, like you can't anticipate their needs for anything. You've taken them 5 glasses of water, you've given them 3 pillows, you've called their grandma that they wanted to talk to, you've adjusted the pain pump and everything else, and the patient is still on the call, like. A way to detach from that situation, but still show concern would be not to go to the room, but to use maybe like a phone or a PA system, creating distance between you and the patient and letting the patient know I've done absolutely everything that I can do for you. But at this time, if it's not an emergency, I'll have to deflect my attention to my other patients who have suffered because of the numerous times that I've shared with you. And just that statement, just creating that distance, just being very assertive in your communication creates a detachment between you and the patient. So it's more of the art of communication, and it's more of the art of knowing when you've done your best and need to take a step back, and that's okay. That's really okay. And to me, that's the solution to doing it. That's something that I put into practice these last 19 years, and it helps. Another thing I think is the solution to it is something that I see with other professions like engineers or doctors even, where you're creating that me time for yourself, where you're no longer thinking about the order that you didn't fill, or you're not thinking about the doctor that you didn't call that day, where you can just go home and let it go. Just let go of the day, let go of the patients that you cried over or the ones that you made smile. Just let it go and absorb yourself and how you're feeling about it. Go into your thoughts about what you did that day so that you can let go of some of the attachment that we have to our jobs and attachment that comes from caring for people so much. That's what I think.
And not to feel guilty about it when you do that, because somehow we seem to think that we should feel guilty about it.
Absolutely. That's the key. There's no reason to feel guilty when you've done your best. When you know you've done all that you could, or in nursing terms, you've anticipated people's needs beyond their needs.
Yeah.
There's no need to feel guilty about it. You deserve that, because as someone who nurtures, you also have to be the person who nurtures yourself. If not, what do you have to give?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that brings me to the question of self-care. And I usually ask people, what does it mean to you? What does self-care mean to you? And I'm getting it.
Wow. Again, I just can't applaud you enough on the great questions. Thank you. That is an awesome question. Self-care to me means self-preservation, preserving myself, pouring into myself, adding value to myself as I distribute it throughout the day. Self-care looks like a huge deal for me. I have a huge morning routine where I wake up to meditation. I wake up and actually paint, and I do things that help me deal with my emotions, that help me deal with things that I may be experiencing that I may not be able to talk about it. So self-care is taking care of your emotions. It's taking care of your physical body, and it's taking care of your mind. Meditation helps a lot of people still their mind and just kind of relax. The painting helps you get through, any emotions that may be locked inside or any subconscious messages that you might have. So that, takes care of the mind. And then I exercise. I run 3 miles every night. after I get off work, or if I don't work, at the end of the evening, so that my body can have a release. But that's what self-care means to me. It means preserving the mind, the body, soul, as much as you possibly can, so that you'll have something of value to give to others.
Exactly. Awesome. 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 What would you say is your greatest achievement so far as a nurse?
Wow, I've had some pretty out of this world experiences as a nurse, but I have to say the greatest achievement was being asked by the Michigan Nurses Association this year to present a guided meditation breakout session at one of their conferences.
Awesome.
I was overwhelmed and overjoyed because there were 50,000 nurses in the state of Michigan that they could have chosen.
That they could have, yes.
Yes, but they chose me because of an article that I wrote and published on a couple of social media sites. The president of the association, Miss Larissa Miller, happened to see the article, and she talked with a liaison and asked her to reach out to me. And it was just amazing, because that had been one of my dreams since I graduated from Michigan State University, to do something with the Michigan Nurses Association.
Yeah.
So definitely, that was a great accomplishment for me.
Well,
Definitely.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So what would you say though is if you had to look ahead and have the ideal nursing profession, what changes would you like to see to get us there?
Well, to be honest with you, I would like to see more professional development in terms of civility. With the large amount of emotional burden that nurses are taking on at work, things kind of get a little aggressive in our environments. So I would love to see more professional development, teaching us how to treat our colleagues, how to communicate with our colleagues, how to respect our colleagues to the utmost, in spite of the increasing demand on our emotions and our time at work. I would really love to see the future of nursing turn more toward ethics and morals of justice and fair treatment toward one another, because it's becoming a problem in light of burnout. That's where I'd like to see nursing go. And I'd also like to see nursing go toward educating our nurses. There are a huge amount of the workforce that have LPN degrees or the 2-year degree. States like the state of New York have been kind of innovative in spearheading an initiative giving LPNs a 10-year cushion to obtain their bachelor's of science and nursing degree. I would love to see that be a standard across the nursing profession, that you couldn't enter unless you had a bachelor's degree, because the education that you get in terms of being able to do research, in terms of developing your leadership skills, it's second to none. And it's necessary in organizations where nurses are now on boards and are being asked their opinions about how we can make the profession better. So that's where I would like to see the future of nursing go. More professional development in terms of civility, and more educated efforts to get nurses to that bachelorette level across the board. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I agree with you, and especially on that second one, because I really believe that until we are sitting at the table, it's not going to change.
Right. And how do we get to the table? By having the experience that gets us there. Yeah, and developing leaders. We need more nurse leaders. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I have been collecting words as I talk to people. The words that I want to ask people, if you could describe the most essential quality of a nurse in just one word, what would that word be? Resilience. Okay. All right. Why resilience?
Because you have to be able to handle the challenges that each day presents. As a professional registered nurse, you definitely have to be able to not take things personal. You have to be able to understand that everybody's communication styles aren't the same or easy to be understood. Yeah, you have to be able to know that you're a nurse, not a doctor, and there's only so many things that you as a nurse can do to intervene in the situation. And all that requires resilience. You know, you have to have the attitude in order for me to believe that you're a great nurse, that you're going to just keep going. You're going to stay committed to the journey.
Yeah.
And that requires a lot of resilience, a lot of brushing off your shoulders.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So, two things I want to ask. Number one, what advice would you give to someone? Words of inspiration who wants to be a nurse?
Just do it.
Just do it. All right, Nike.
Absolutely. That would be my advice. Just do it, because nursing is the gift that keeps on giving. Once you get it, it's pretty hard to lose it.
Yeah.
So I would definitely just tell a person, do it. Just do it. Get through school, sacrifice whatever time that you need to sacrifice in order to obtain your degree and pass that NCLEX test the best that you can, because once you do it, the world opens up to you.
Yeah, indeed. Mm-hmm. So tell me, the second thing I wanted to ask you, tell us about your book.
Sure. Okay. In 2009, I wrote a relationship book. It's a healthy relationship book, and it's called 247 Ways of Love.
Okay. 247 days.
Yes, because I just believe that there are so many ways that people go about finding the love of their life and finding relationships that are based on love. Mm-hmm. And so the book was a 39-page self-help book. It had scenarios about different types of relationships. It talked about LGBTQI relationships. It talked about non-married relationships. It talked about popular relationships like the side chick, you know, where you're not necessarily someone's main. And it explored toxicness and how to rise above toxicness by identifying healthy behaviors in relationships, by identifying core values that need to be agreed upon. And also it discussed a lot mutuality, mutual agreement, you know, between the two partners about the direction that they wanted the relationship to grow in. It was pretty awesome, and it was on the shelves for about 10 years. I just recently took it off of the shelf, but you can find it on Amazon in Africa. You can find it on Barnes and Noble in Mexico.
I was going to ask you, where can we find it? But thank you.
It was everywhere. I just recently took it off the shelf. But if you Google it, you'll see traces of it still there. And it can be specially ordered on Amazon. You just have to pay like an extra $15 for it since it's off the shelf. But they'll let you acquire it.
So can we look forward to another book?
Yes, because the first experience allowed me to become a publisher. And I obtained the ability to know how to publish books. And so learning that process has stimulated me to understand how valuable that skill is. Yeah. And so I want to write a book teaching nurses how to tell their story and own it, publish it, get the rights and the money yourself. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to share today?
Well, I'm always willing to share that I am just excited to be here today. And if it weren't for people like you reaching out to people like me, where would my story go? Who would hear me? So I just want to share how thankful I am to just be blessed with the opportunity to be here and talk to someone about my zany world of nursing. And, you know, just maybe just shed some light on some subjects for people through my opinion and through the work that I do. I'm just thankful, very thankful for you.
Thank you so very much, Pia. Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate you, really, I do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. Have a great one.
Yes, thank you.